Hello again, everyone, and thank you for joining Smarter Project Management with Visual Connection. From personal events to business deliverables, get it all done in your brain. So the name of the game today is Project Management. My name is Matt Caton, and I'm going to be sharing with you today many of the features of the brain that will help you achieve more successful project management, mostly through visualization of the connections of the information that go into the project that you're managing, but many different features and aspects of the software that will help you, again, specifically with project management. And of course, project management takes on many different forms. It's a particular interest of mine, being as I have worked as a project manager, and also that I treat many of my own personal activities with sort of the fundamentals of project management. So whether I'm working with a client or delivering a rollout of a new piece of software within the office, we're a techie company, there's a lot of updates going on, maybe everyone's getting new computers, new software, whatever the case may be. Project management. I've got checklists, I've got timelines, I've got people and companies that I need to be working with and checking in on, and I need to manage all those different ins and outs of that particular project. Or in my personal life, I'm helping my kids with their science fair project, I'm planning an upcoming vacation, or simply doing some woodworking out in the shop on the weekends. Again, project management. Do I have all the utilities that I need? Do I have all the information? And what are my deadlines? What's the timeline for that personal project that I'm working on? The brain can help you with all those aspects. Now, in the past, I have worked with many different applications to help me with project management. Of course, it started out in probably grade school with just simply a notebook and lists and check boxes of getting things done to get my homework done on time. And that progressed into Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, and eventually Visio diagrams. But again, they were very disconnected. They didn't have all the elements of my project in one place. I would be referring in those different documents to people, web pages, contact information, other locations where resources exist. But I would have to just sort of review those documents as a guideline and then jump into other applications to actually access the information. And with the brain, we can have all of our information in one location. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's jump right into an existing project management brain. And first, I'd like to share with you that this particular brain that I'm demoing for you now can actually be downloaded from our website. If you go to www.thebrain.com and go to our applications page, I'll actually drive you to the page here towards the end of the demo today, but you can see you can download this specific sample project management brain. So everything that you're going to see while I'm in this brain can be accessible by you. You can utilize that brain for just reference material of how you want to build your own brain, or actually download a copy of that brain and start changing all the thought names, modifying it to best fit your needs, and have it be the seed for your own brain that you create on the projects that you're working on. So there are many different sample types of projects in this particular brain, and let's go ahead and focus on a few right off the bat. Now, before I start adding new information into this brain and clicking through this brain, I also quickly want to share with you that during today's webinar, if you have any questions about a particular feature that I share with you, or about a feature that I don't get a chance to cover that you want to know more about, please feel free to write those into the GoToMeeting question panel. At the end of the demo today, I'll jump back over into that question panel, review the questions, and I'll try to answer as many unique or interesting questions as we may have. So let's go ahead and start navigating through this particular brain. First, I'm going to click down on my personal projects. Now, I'm in full screen of the brain Plex, all of the interconnected thoughts. All the thoughts in the brain, those are the building blocks of the brain that you create. And thoughts can be connected to notes or content over here on the right. So any type of digital content can be connected with a thought in your brain, or notes can be taken. Let's share a few examples of that. I'm going to click on my kitchen renovation, and here we've got some sample documents and spreadsheets and even graphics in reviewing a kitchen renovation project. Notice this particular thought itself has a Word document associated with it. Now, I just recently added this Word document, so if I click on any file attachment, it's always going to launch that attachment in its native application. So of course, this opens up Microsoft Word for me, and I can continue on creating this new sort of outline of my kitchen renovation that I have in this document. But first, I'm going to start with a checklist. So I'm going to click down on my list of parts, and notice I don't have anything on this particular thought quite yet. And there are different ways that I can start adding content. So a note can take on any type of format you want, and we've got a lot of different formatting options available for you in the Brain. So under my list of parts, let's say I just simply want to create a very basic outline of equipment that I'll be needing. Of course, there will be my large appliances. And thank goodness for spell check built right into the Brain, so I can just right click and correct any spelling. And I'll scroll down just a bit. There will also be my countertops, and then my cabinets and flooring. So just a few different categories that I'm going to start dropping my checklist into under large appliances. I can even make this a bulleted list. So I'll select from up above to make a nice simple bulleted list of my dishwasher, fridge, garbage sink maybe, etc. So the list goes on and on. So I'm just really brainstorming right now of all the different components that I'll need during my major kitchen renovation. And I can come back and modify this list at any time. Additionally, I can also start adding checklists. And you'll be seeing at different locations in this particular Brain and others that I may get a chance to open. I really enjoy adding checklists to all the thoughts that that I'm creating, or specific key project management thoughts that I have. So my list of parts, eventually this will become the actual list of things that I do need to purchase, and I'll want to check those off when the purchase is made. So the dishwasher, let's just hit enter. Oh, or let's actually just start in a new area under the countertops. Maybe I don't want just the actual product. Yes, I need countertops, but there's a certain series of steps that I need to go through. I need to go to the stone yard to pick out the right stone. I need to find the guy that can actually do the installation. So in this scenario, I'll create a checklist. I'll just click on the checkbox and say, visit to stone yard. Start reviewing stone masons, I think they're called. I'm not even sure. Stone masons. Purchase stone. Actually, before I purchase stone, I want to research stone, sort of like the maintenance or care. I don't want to purchase something that's going to be very fragile or that I'm going to have to treat very delicately. I really want a working kitchen, so something that's going to stand the test of time. A lot of research that needs to get done. And of course, when something gets complete, I can simply check that off the list. Start reviewing stonemasons. Let's say I've reviewed stonemasons and I've picked Terry. So Terry is the guy. I can just simply add that into the note. And additionally, I'm going to hit Shift Enter, and I'm actually going to timestamp this so I know when I signed a contract with Terry, or I know when I purchased a particular product. That'll really come in handy for warranties for large appliances and things of that nature. So again, built right into the Brain, we've got a nice little timestamp feature. So after Terry, I'm going to click on the calendar to add today's current date and time. So I know when that task took place, and I'll go back and once again simply check that off the list. But that information is archived, so I can come back and retrieve that information at any time. Once again, you'll notice some different thoughts that I jump around through. I really love my checkboxes, and I really love that timestamp feature. So I know when a particular conversation took place, when a task was completed. That's a crucial element in my personal project management applications that I have in all the brains that I create. Let's also take a look at how we can bring other types of content into my brain. I want to jump over to my contractors area. Here again is another thought. I don't have a lot of content or don't have any content for this particular thought yet. So for this particular brain, let's say, oops, click to open a new brain. I don't want to do that. I'll move that to the side. And this particular brain, let me open up my browser window in the background. I've got a couple of sample web pages. There they are. So I've got a couple of sample web pages. I've started doing my research for contractors, just general lists, best contractors for kitchen remodels in the Los Angeles area. And I'll bring back my brain, and I just want to open these two windows sort of side by side. So let me change around the screen real estate here so you can see what's happening. I've got my brain open. I've got my browser open. You can also very easily drag and drop into the brain. And the drag and drop features of the brain apply not only to web pages, but existing content, graphics, any type of data that existing data that you have. It's very, very easy typically to get that into the brain with drag and drop. And so here I've got some existing web pages, and I simply want to drag and drop this iCastle.com website right into my brain. I haven't made my contractor decision for the general contractor for the entire project yet. Still doing my research. So this is part of the research, is bringing in all this content. And when I find a favorite web page, this is a really, really great list. They've got a great rating system. So I'm going to be revisiting this web page quite often as well. Long, obscure URL. I'll never probably remember that or find it in the future. I just happened to click across this in a recent search. So I'm going to bring that right into my brain. So the brain, not only am I keeping track of the actual steps of the project, but the steps that lead up to the project as well. So all of the research that's taking place, sort of the brainstorming, that all happens in my brain. And then I can filter out the unwanted data at a later date. I no longer need to know about all of the 20 best kitchen remodelers or the 11. Maybe I find one on the list that appears again and again and again. This is the company to hire, and I can start focusing just on my work with that company and remove all the other old data at a later date. So let's say on one of these web pages, I'm coming back just specifically to the brain now, and notice that when I click on the thought where I've attached a web link, that actually loads up in the content window of the brain. So let's give that a little more screen real estate. And notice as I scroll down, I'm actually browsing through the web page right here in the web browser of the brain. When I find something I'm looking for, here's kitchen remodeling in Tarzana, I can actually click and continue navigating here in the brain. I find something I really like. Maybe they've got a home review of 89. I really like this information about this client, about this pro. I'm just going to copy this note, this information, and make a new thought. And just simply paste that information right into the notes. And of course, if I find some further information about that home remodeling, maybe I want their contact information as well. Again, I'll just simply copy that content and go back into the brain and paste. So now I'm starting to focus on the actual thought where I've got my kitchen pro, my remodeler, and all of their information in my brain. I can go back and delete the unneeded thoughts. So I can right click to forget that 11 best kitchen remodelers at any time, and maybe even move this home remodeling in Tarzana. I'll move that up to my contractor's thoughts, and maybe even unlink, right? Click on a link and unlink the other research thought that I had. So now when I go down to my contractor's thought, I'm really focusing on the home remodelers of Tarzana, and I can start once again adding new data, setting up appointments, etc., for this particular thought. So let's go ahead and get into a different area of this particular brain, or this rather out of contractors and over to the actual kitchen design. Once again, I'm really talking right now about brainstorming in the brain, getting all my ideas into my brain before I start making final decisions and mapping out this project. And in this area, I'm actually mapping out different kitchen designs that I like. The brain has a really, really great feature that allows you to bring graphics and zoomable icons into the brain that you're creating. So here, notice I just hover over the thought and I zoom into this very sleek, very modern kitchen image that I've captured. So I want to share with you how I do this, because I do this quite often in all of my projects, sort of the visualization of the end result or art assets that I'll be using for this marketing project that I'm working on. I really, really love, in addition to the notes and the data and the files, the visual aspect, the more creative aspect that the brain can provide. So other kitchen designs that I may like, and once again, I've got a couple of different web pages open of some existing kitchens that I really like. And let's say I find another design with a built-in fireplace. So I'm going to create a new thought. And I'll simply call this the design with the built-in fireplace. I want to refer to this graphic. Maybe I take my brain with me to design meetings with my contractors, and I just want to show them pictures. Can you not do these types of things? So I'm going to grab that image, and remember, I had it on the screen behind the brain. Now, from this thought in the brain, I'll simply right-click and select to capture image. And what this does is it minimizes the brain, and maybe you can see I've got this little red crosshairs on the screen. If you're familiar with Snagit or other screen capturing tools, this is built right into the brain. So with this image in the background, I can click and drag and capture that image that will now be associated as the icon, the zoomable icon for that particular thought. And I can capture as much or as little as the screen as I'd like. And this feature is really great because you can crop out parts that you don't need. Let's go to another design. I'll just click over, and maybe I like the green and white wall of this kitchen. So I'll create a new thought. And once again, I'm just going to right-click and select to capture an image. And in this case, not the full image. I can really key in on the particular component of the design that I really like and that I'm most interested in. So again, another feature that I use quite often, capturing sort of the creative aspect of all the different projects that I'm working on. Now let's go ahead and jump into a different area of the brain altogether, out of my kitchen renovation and into another sort of personal activity, which is my diving. Here again, I've got a lot of different web links. I do have zoomable icons from dive pictures that I've taken that I really enjoy and reflect on, so I can remember, you know, which spot had the most interesting coral, which spot had the most variety of fish, etc. So I refer back to my own pictures from time to time. And also, once again, I just want to show you what an existing checklist can look like. And here I've cleared everything out basically from this checklist. And I've basically taken the outline of the document, the Excel spreadsheet that I have, and turned this into a checklist right here in the notes. So once again, as I'm packing for a particular trip, I can go through and simply check off everything that I've already packed, or even add a new item. Let's say I've got a new sun visor. I can modify that list at any time and pack up for my trip. When the trip is complete, I typically come back and I sort of reset everything. So that's my checklist that'll be good to go for the next time. And I can even copy this and paste it into different trip events. So I can copy my checklist for Southern California and paste that into my Southern California trip. So let's say I've got past trips. I can go in, I had a trip to SoCal and my checklist from SoCal. All right, click and simply paste. So I can always go back and use that as a template, those checklists as a template. I do that from time to time if I'm working with a new client and we're sort of reviewing or going over the same steps that I do for all new clients when we're putting together a marketing package or a new ad campaign. I can keep a particular thought of a checklist, an outline of a project, and paste that in from time to time again and again. Or, of course, I can go in and create my new checklist, as we saw earlier, by selecting a new Excel spreadsheet. So there, I've clicked on the Excel spreadsheet, and I can start a new Excel spreadsheet from scratch and save that spreadsheet on this thought and keep track of all of my information there. Multiple different choices for how you want to keep track of that particular data. And there's another step or another feature within the brain that I want to share with you. And I do this quite often with my checklists. So in this particular brain, remember, I've got a checklist going for my kitchen remodel. I've got checklists for the different diving trips that I have planned. I also have some business examples. We'll get to those next. But with all of those checklists, that means I have a lot of open tasks that I have not completed yet. So what I like to do is create a tag for an open task and apply those tags to thoughts with checklists. So once again, my diving equipment checklist, I'll go to that thought. And anytime you click on a thought in the brain, you're actually going to be opening the thought properties. And with the thought properties, there's a lot that you can do to that thought to really make it stand out. Let's say equipment checklist is my current focus. When I'm thinking about diving, I want to put together a real solid checklist. I'm going to be traveling a lot over the next summer on some diving trips. And my most important focus in that project is not really about where I'm going quite yet. That can sort of happen a little bit later down the line. Right now, I'm focused on making sure I've got a solid equipment checklist so I can travel light and have all the essentials that I need. So this is a really important thought for me in the entire area of the diving section of my brain. And I can make it stand out very simply by changing a few components. So I give it some red text and I'll give it sort of a light blue background. Oops, that's the text. And I'll click over to the background color and maybe a lighter gray background. Not good enough. I like that. So that, notice, it really stands out in that large list of all my different components that's important to me about diving. My equipment checklist is really standing out right now. A very simple way to bring your attention to a thought in a larger group of thoughts or tasks that need to be completed. So I can change the color of the actual thought. I can also modify the icon. And once again, from here, I can capture an image. So I can go out and find a scuba diving picture that I like and associate that picture with this particular thought. In this case, I'm going to select from the brain's built-in icons. So here I've got my own icon list. I've actually customized my personal icon list, but I'm going to go down to sports. And there's a nice little scuba mask. I like that. So I simply want to apply that scuba mask to my equipment checklist and give it sort of some unique identity. I'm going to be visiting this thought a lot. I like that it stands out that way. And I can always go back and modify and change those settings later. But once again, on that equipment checklist is a task that is so far incomplete, as it is on many other thoughts in my brain. So I'm also going to add a thought tag so I can find all of my incomplete tasks in my entire brain. So once again, I'll click on the properties for that thought to open up the properties. And on my tags, these are my existing tags. I don't have too many tags in this particular brain. Some brains I've got a long list of different tags that I'm associating with thoughts. In this case, just a few simple tags. Like I said, this is a template brain that you can download, and you can modify and add your own tags. And I'm going to do just that. I'm going to add a tag that is called task. That simple. So I apply the task tag to this thought, and notice by default it gives a little tag icon. I'm going to jump back over into my kitchen remodel, and notice I was working, remember, I was working on my list of parts. These are some tasks that I need to complete as well. So therefore, I'll click on the thought to open up the thought properties and apply this tag task as well. Now, in the future, when I'm sitting down to my brain on a Monday morning, what do I have to get done? Or maybe I've been on holiday. I actually went scuba diving for a week. I came back. I've got a lot to do in my brain. What are all my currently open tasks? From the brain, I'm going to click on my tag list in the menu up above and click on task. And there they are. I've got my equipment checklist that I'm working on for scuba diving hobby, and my list of parts, which is for my family kitchen renovation. So I can get to those thoughts, those open tasks, very, very quickly and easily. I've seen a lot of different sample brains, and even myself, sometimes I won't just leave it as an open category of tasks. I've got sort of task level 1, level 2, urgent tasks, moderate tasks, less important tasks, etc. So you can create as many different tags as you'd like and find that information in a massive, very large growing brain with many different projects. Manage them by applying those appropriate thought tags and getting to the next step, the urgent steps, or you've got some spare time, all your urgent steps are taken care of. Let's go to phase 2 steps or phase 3 steps. And you can also apply graphics to those tags in the brain as well. So for this tag of task, I'm going to click to open up its properties and assign a simple graphic. So I'll select a stock icon. This time I'll go back to business. And let's say I want this nice little target symbol. This is the task. So I'm going to give it that nice little target symbol. I need to sort of hit the mark with this task. And that just simply gives a nice, simple graphic icon to that particular thought. In many scenarios in my brain, I've got multiple thought tags. So it's urgent, but it's also family related, or it's urgent, but it's business related. You can apply multiple tags, however they best fit your needs, to your thoughts. Graphics to the tags, I think, are a wonderful added feature as well. And also notice that my tags only appear when I hover over. So I hover over equipment checklist, and then it tells me that that tag is for a task. That can be manipulated, turned on and off. And for that, we go into preferences, and we tell the brain how the brain wants to behave when we have tags associated with a thought. So my tag text only shows on hover, but my tag icons are always being displayed. So those are some modifications that you can use to manipulate how the information appears in your brain. And let's use one more example in this particular brain. Since this is a brain that you can download and experiment with, I'm going to jump over to my writing projects. So in this scenario, this is actually sort of a great example of a business environment. So my writing projects aren't my personal writing. I'm doing writing for press releases. You can see I've got a company newsletter, writing up for a blog article, an interview with the CEO of the company, a new company brochure. Let's say I've got a client presentation that I'm working with as well. I'm just going to click to create a new thought. And there's a lot going on with my client presentation. I'm not just going to create a simple checklist for this particular thought. All the components of my client presentation are going to start being attached to this thought. And this client presentation itself is a very, very key task that I'm working on. So in this scenario, I'll just right click on the thought to add a thought tag. and this is a task that I'm working on. So I apply that task thought tag to this particular thought. And from here, I start adding in all of my additional information. So I'm going to have a new script, what else will I have? In addition to the script, I'll have all my art resources or art assets. I'm going to have maybe some PowerPoint docs. And I'm going to be referring to a lot of meeting notes, etc. So in this scenario, notice that I'm separating each individual thought with a semicolon. A really, really great feature within the brain allows you to quickly create multiple individual thoughts at one time. So I click on enter, and notice instead of having to click, drag, create over and over again, I can actually create a grouping of 4 individual thoughts by using that semicolon trick. And also for my script, once again, my script is actually going to be a Word document. So let's click on the plus tab, and I select to add a Word document. So here is my script. I won't actually start writing the script right now. That is going to be my script document. I'll save that. Notice that it doesn't ask where I want to save the file to. Anytime I create a new document from scratch within the brain, that document is saved internally inside the brain. So inside the brain itself is basically a mini database that is being visualized on your desktop, on your operating system within the brain application. And inside there's a files directory. That files directory is actually specified or can be specified by you. If I go to options and under preferences, there's a system tab where I can specify where the storage of all my brain data actually goes. So internal attachments are all being saved in this directory. I can go in and open them at any time. They're not renamed, they're not compressed or zipped up in any way. Even without the brain running, I can do a search on my C drive for a document called scripts and still find this particular document. So there I've got my script. I can also launch this particular attachment in its native application. And let's say I make some additional changes. Now, I don't want to delete or overwrite my old version. Maybe these changes were just sweeping changes throughout the document. And I don't want to ruin my old copy, but I added those into this existing copy. Not to worry, I'm going to do a save as. So I click on File and Save As, and I'll name this Script Part 2. And notice there's the full path of that directory I just pointed to earlier. So it's still saving in the same location, and now I simply have 2 attachments on this particular thought. So the brain can also keep track of version control as well. And I can click from attachment to attachment to decide which one I want to open. And just as you can preview all of the web pages right here in the content window, we can do the same with Word documents as well. Click on preview. There's a nice little preview of that document. Not a whole lot in that document yet, but there you can see it in the content window. And of course, on the notes, that's where I'll keep track of sort of the outline that I'm putting together for the actual script. So here I'll have just some very simple notes. Intro, or team introductions. Oh, if I can spell today, there we go. I'm typing faster than I'm thinking here. But here's just just a couple of simple notes that I'll be referring back to, sort of the outline of the actual document that I'm working on, things that are not included in the document themselves. But I just want to bring to your attention, an individual thought can have more than just a single file attached or just a single note. In this particular instance, I've got multiple Word documents. I can attach web pages to this individual thought as well. as well as having notes, and I can even drag and drop other documents onto this thought. So over on my desktop, I think I've got a sample folder. Let me get there really quickly. Here on my C drive. There we go. So I'll bring that onto the right screen. So here I've got some existing documents that I really need to refer to while I'm writing that script. I've got a company background or a company overview. That's really important. I need to sort of cherry pick some information out of this PDF file. So I'll drag and drop this right on to the existing script thought. Here, I'll grab the company background. And notice if I drop it down below, that'll actually create a new thought for me with this document attached to the thought. In this case, I want it on the script thought. So I'm going to drop. And notice script now has 3 documents associated with it. It's got a PowerPoint, 2 different versions of my script, as well as the notes as well. So a lot of content just on this one individual thought. It's going to be very, very helpful as I continue writing out this script for my client presentation. And I also want to share with you that you can create, I mentioned earlier, you can actually elaborate on that list of document types. Maybe I want to actually give a takeaway on my company letterhead to all of my clients with the script, with maybe the outline or key components of the script that I shared. I want them to remember this. And this is a document that I'm going to print out on my company letterhead for my client. So I'll add a new attachment. And I don't have my company letterhead appearing as a template in the Brain. So I simply want to add that in. I'm going to click on templates and follow these on-screen instructions. So this is where you can actually open up an Explorer window. Anything that I drop into this Explorer window will be seen as a template by the Brain that you can use over and over again on all of your thoughts. And back in my eSolutions directory, I think I had a company letterhead. There it is. There's my letterhead document. I'll simply copy that and paste a copy of it here. So the Brain will always see letterhead as a potential template. So close, and I'll just click on notes and back to the plus sign so it refreshes. There's my company letterhead, and I can double click. That adds a 4th document, a 4th attachment to this thought. It's my company letterhead, and here is my takeaway sheet. So I'll save that once again right on to the thought for my script for my client presentation. Now what I'd like to share with you is creating a new Brain from scratch. Actually, I take that back. Before I do that, I want to share another area of this Brain that's really helpful. I'm actually going to be using it as a guideline for creating a new Brain from scratch. I'm going to jump over to, if I have time to do that actually, I'm going to jump over on my current project's Brain to different project methodologies that we've built into this Brain as well. I think this is actually more important to share with you. This particular area of the Brain gives you an idea of different ways of putting together project management brains that reflect your needs. And I think one of the best examples is getting things done. If you're familiar with getting things done, GTD was a book that was written by David Allen, and incredibly resourceful, incredibly helpful, and a brilliant methodology for approaching our busy lifestyles that we all have these days. We've got so much to keep track of, and there are so many different ways to do that. David Allen himself actually uses the Brain. We've got a video on our website where we interviewed David Allen, and we clicked through his Brain, how he likes to keep track of his information. This is one of the fundamental components of putting together a project management outline. And so let's walk through these step by step. Step 1 is simply to define your purpose. Every project management or every project that you're putting together is being managed so that you get to an end goal. So purpose and also the mission, what you want to do and why you want to do it. So that's the what and why. Your purpose is to, maybe as an example, if I have time to create a sample brain, my purpose is to find old broken down bicycles in junkyards and put them back together and sell them very inexpensively to kids in the inner city or commuters in large cities. So that's my purpose. And the mission, the why I want to do that, is to get rid of waste in scrap yards and just around the world, and provide affordable transportation to people of all walks of life. So the what, the why, and then we get to my favorite component, the brainstorming. And brainstorming is where there are no limits. And the brain is great. Hopefully you've seen while I've been creating these other examples how you can simply add more information and brainstorm without limits, without judgment. You can add all of your different ideas here into the brain and then start organizing and cherry picking. And that leads you to step number 4. I'm going to take everything that I brainstormed on and start organizing that. What's really a possibility for me to accomplish versus something that, if my mission is to get all cars off the road and people only use bicycles, yeah, that's probably not going to happen. So I wrote it down in brainstorming, but am I going to start organizing and aiming towards that goal? Probably not. I just want to make a better impact in the city that I live in with bicycle transportation. So now I start focusing and organizing and actually taking action. So what is the first step? What is the next step after that? So I start actually take all the components that I organize, things that I can do, and decide what happens first. 5 simple steps so that you don't just simply, project management isn't, I'm going to start selling bicycles. You're not done yet. There's so much more that goes to it. And this is a great way to outline those components. So this is one way in, again, this brain, you can actually go through and find these 5 steps. Whatever project you're working on, you can apply these 5 steps to any particular project, again, to help you stay organized. And the brain is a great, great place to do that. So let's go ahead and build and create together a new brain from scratch. I do want to share with you that you can create as many different brains as you'd like. You can see I've got many different sample brains and real brains that I jump in and out of. My personal brains, work-related brains, hobby brains that I have. The brain is really fantastic with the Brain 9 in being able to jump in and out of different topic-specific brains. So I'm going to create a new brain from scratch, simply called Recycle dash bicycle. Recycle bicycle. So recycled bicycles, and that's my funky company name. I'll click OK. And now, as you can see, I am starting from scratch. I simply have one thought in the center of the brain. And notice that the brain always picks a custom background for you when you create a new brain. You can always very easily change to I've got different brain designs that I've created on my own. I particularly like this one, funky background, easy to read colors and so forth. You can choose just simple light background, dark background, whatever you'd like, and modify and create your own theme within your brain. So I'm going to go with this particular theme just because it's easy to see. And I am going to start creating, once again, that high level overview. So phase 1 is going to be my the purpose. And so phase 1, I could type in purpose, phase 2, the mission, but I'll use that. Phase 1 is the purpose, but I'm actually going to type out my purpose. My purpose is to sell rebuilt bicycles. phase 2, and rather than actually going through and I could create a grouping of child thoughts, or I can actually move through my phases this way in the brain. Phase 2 is going to be my mission, and my mission is not just to sell bicycles and make a bunch of money, but to clean the air and provide to all. So, and I can come back and modify these at any time. I can keep notes about how I'm going to sort of change my marketing spin, where I'm going to promote this, etc. Those things can happen on these individual thoughts. Phase 3, this is once again my fun part, brainstorming. And I'll just call this brainstorming. There's no way around it. I like that word. Brainstorm. So it's time for me to start my brainstorming on this particular thought. So the first thing that I'm going to do is start looking at other types of bikes that I like out there. I want to build a bike that looks like a Bianchi or a Trek bicycle or whatever the case may be. So let's just use Trek. I love Trek bikes. So phase 3, the brainstorming, is to sort of look at the competition, the expensive bikes that are out there, and how I can build a more affordable one. Here's another trick that I really want to share with you. Built right into the brain is a way to search the web, and it's simply done by clicking on F4. So I click on F4, and notice that I'm about to search the web using Google. That's my default, but I can switch this to Bing, Twitter, YouTube. I can put eBay, Amazon on here if I'm building a shopping brain. I like Bing. I'll switch over to Bing and search for Trek. There it is. And when I find what I like or what I'm looking for, I'll just simply, once again, open this and drag it right into the brain. And I'll drag it on that Trek thought. So I really like the world is better with bikes. Maybe I can think about that a little bit more in the future. I'm going to copy that content and actually paste that into my mission statement. Right click, paste. So the world is better as bikes. Trek motto. So I'm not going to steal it, but I'm just going to use that for information for my project. So there I've put Trek right into my brain, so I can right from the brain actually review that content. As I mentioned earlier, I can continue on browsing through the website. So I can look at all of Trek's bikes. Here's Trek's mountain bikes. I'm particularly interested there. So I can actually navigate to that page and then drag from the brain's built-in browser right into my brain. So I can hone my skills. There's my mountain bikes. And let's also include sort of their city bikes. Electric mountain bike, that's interesting. Urban, that's what I'm looking for. Do I have, there it is, urban and commuter. I like those two. So I'll bring those in as a child thought underneath Trek as well. So I can come back and review those styles at any time, take notes, take ideas, and go from there. Also under brainstorming, I need my own equipment. And I've already said up above, scrap bicycles. I'm recycling old bikes, so I need to find scrap yards. And once again, I'll simply search the web. I click on F4. Maybe I'm going to start in upstate New York, my company. So I'll look for New York scrap yards. So I'll change the search a bit. And again, whoops, I can start dragging and dropping right here from my search. So even on a search result, I can click and drag it in, and it's going to take me to that search result. So it actually took me to this map right here in my brain of scrapyards in New York. Great resource. I'll get back to that and once again, start reading it later. And finally, off of phase 3, I'll eventually be moving on to phase 4. And phase 4 of the brain was getting organized. So now I actually am using those models, the for the thought names: brainstorm, organize, and next steps. So organize, and what am I going to do first? Maybe the first thing I'm going to do before I start researching actual trek bikes and things, can I afford this? Am I going to be able to find enough spare parts? So I'm going to drag to an existing thought. So scrapyards not only falls under brainstorming, but also falls under organize. That's one of my first steps I need to research further. And maybe along the way, I think of more things that have to happen. If I start buying parts from the scrapyard, where am I going to store them all? I don't have room in my apartment, so I'm going to need to maybe purchase a barn. And there's a lot that goes into purchasing a barn. I need to find a real estate agent, review locations, different locations, etc. So this will become its own mini project within the massive project of starting my company as well. And then finally, under organize, I'll want to go to step 5, which is going to be my next steps. And here again, my next steps is going to link to an existing thought, which is going to be finding that real estate agent. So I already have a thought for that. I'll just type in a few letters, and notice that the brain always shows me existing thoughts that I have that match whatever it is I've typed in so far. So if I just type in R, you can see there's all thoughts that contain a word that start with the letter R. In this case, I'm going to link up to real estate, and that is going to be my next step. My current focus in this whole massive project is to start looking for real estate of where I'm going to store all of my bike parks and the foundation of my company. All good companies start in a garage or an old barn. So I'm going to follow suit and do the same. So real estate is my current focus. I can create a thought type or a thought tag. So I'll always be able to get to my current focus. Maybe I'll have 2 or 3 in the future in one particular brain. What I'm focusing on are the most urgent tasks. And finally, the last component, before I get to all these great questions, is to share with you the timeline that's built into the brain as well. Another great feature to help you manage your projects. And that is quite simply to keep track of everything in the calendar, when it's due, how long it's taking, when appointments are arising, etc. The calendar in the brain is built into what we call the timeline. So I've got a few options. I can click on View and select Timeline. There's also this really fantastic button where I can open up my reports, an alphabetical listing of all the thoughts in the brain that I can filter further, or click to open up the timeline. So here is the brain's timeline, the calendar. I've got a little mini calendar over on the left, so I can just simply review date and time. But let's say I've got an appointment coming up. Here in my notes, I'll say appointment with Barb. I could leave the time and date here on Thursday at 5 o'clock, whatever the case may be, to see the big red barn on Highway 12. So there's a little note about what is happening. When is this appointment taking place? With real estate as the active thought, there's a few different ways I can attach, and you can simply attach events in your brain how you most feel comfortable. I like to do them right from the timeline down below. So let's say this particular event is happening on Friday tomorrow from 2 to 4. So I'm going to go down to Friday, and notice that I can view my timeline in the day view. So it expands everything out. I'm just seeing 24 hours from 8 a.m. Thursday to 8 a.m. tomorrow. And I can go to week view, month view, year view, etc. Let's go back to week view. We'll just say Friday from 2. I'm clicking and dragging. And notice it drags over and it captures that time zone from 2 to 4. And now I can start applying all the components of this meeting. So I can link it to my real estate thought. I'll attach this to real estate. I can have further information, that information about the red barn that we're viewing off of Highway 12. That can be in the description of the meeting. I'll just type in here meeting with Barb. And the time is all set. I can set up the reminder. So the brain will pop up a reminder. When do I want that reminder to come? It can be 10 minutes before, the day before, etc. So let's say 10 minutes before is fine. And I can even set up recurring events as well. Every Friday, I've got a company meeting, or every Friday, I go to the barn to take inventory. Whatever the case may be, I just set that event up, and there it is in my brain. I also have a little calendar icon on the thought, so I know an event is associated with real estate. These events that you create are being indexed by your operating system, so therefore they show up in the brain as well. So if I want to simply look for all of my upcoming meetings, if that's how I'm labeling them, there it is. It appears right in the brain, and I'll go directly to that event in the calendar with the thought that it's associated with up in the Plex, up above. So very, very easy to add these events in. And a new feature that we've just implemented is the ability to actually synchronize your events that you're creating in your brain with your Google Calendar. So that's very exciting. I can simply click on the little hamburger button in the lower right-hand corner of the timeline, click on Google Calendar settings. And first I have to actually sync this brain to the cloud. The Google Calendar synchronization is a part or a component of the Brain Pro Combo license. So I'll say okay, and I'll sync this brain to the cloud. Talk more about syncing in just a moment. But now that the brain is being synced, I'll be able to sync this up, the entire brain, with my Google Calendar. And it's a two-way sync. Everything in the Google Calendar will be synced into my brain. Everything in my brain, all the events, will be synced into my Google Calendar. So I can set up email reminders coming from Google as well. In this case, if I set up a reminder in the brain, let me set up a reminder in the past. Let's say on November 28th, we had a meeting from 11 to 2, maybe just called the company review. And I'll set up the reminder. And I'm doing just this just so you can see what the brain reminders will look like. Now, as I continue to use the brain, there you go. As soon as I clicked, it sort of refreshed, and it shared the brain reminder. From here, I can snooze that event. I had it set on snooze for 5 minutes, so it'll show up again. Or I can delete events or turn the reminders off if I just want to keep them archived in my calendar down below. So now that I've synced my brain, I can set up the Google Calendar, and there I've already actually set up my Google Calendar with my brain, so I can associate this one with me. And I'll say okay. And the next time I sync, these events will go into my Google Calendar, and any events in my Google Calendar will show up here in my brain as well. Very, very exciting to have that out in the latest release. If you don't have those 3 buttons appearing there in your timeline, in the timeline of your brain, number of different reasons. Number one, you haven't downloaded the latest update from the alpha channel. As we roll out new versions of the brain, if I go into preferences, if you're on the beta channel, you've got a very secure, safe version of the brain installed. This latest update is actually over on the alpha channel. You can update to alpha and then click on help and select to check for an upgrade or update, and update to the latest version to get that calendar sync. And once again, that is a feature of the Brain Pro Combo, the ability to sync to the cloud. That gives you online access to all the brains you've created, as well as the ability to share that brain with other users. Now that I have this brain on the cloud, I'm actually going to log in. This is the final component that I wanted to share with you today. I can log in to my cloud account from the Brain website. And once I log in, I'll have access to all the brains that I've created. So you can see I've got quite a few different brains up on the cloud. But if I scroll down, I'll find, there it is, Recycle Bicycle. So that brain is already available for me at app.thebrain.com. I can click to open this brain and start navigating right here in the brain on my or from within a browser window. So notice right now I'm actually in Google Chrome, and I can still continue to create new thoughts. I can add notes and attachments in the content down below. Additionally, this is fantastic, I can actually access this brain, and there's my brain opening up on my iPhone. We have iPhone, or iOS, I should say, so iPhone and iPad. There's all of my brains online. There's my bicycle recycle brain that I can tap and actually download a copy on my phone. It downloads it onto your phone so that I can use my brain when I'm offline or not even connected to Wi-Fi. Use my brain on the plane trips, the back of a taxi, wherever I am. I can add new thoughts, look up phone numbers, information, and access my brain. You can see it's downloading right now from my mobile device, and then resync from the mobile device back to the cloud and back to my desktop computer. So all my information on my project goes with me everywhere I go. So I think those are all of the features that I wanted to share with you today. We did have a couple of questions that came in, and I just want to jump over to those then really quickly. Donna had the first question: how do I merge a project info from Brain 8 into Brain 9? Excellent question. A lot of people are in that transition right now of upgrading from the Brain 8 to the Brain 9. It's a very simple process. Let me jump back over to the Brain, and I can click on File and select Import. So with the Brain open, I select Import, and from Import, notice I've got a lot of different file types that I can import from. Mind Manager files, other mind mapping utilities can be imported into the Brain. I can import an entire folder structure. But Donna, here's what you're looking for. You want to import a Brain 8. Excuse me. So I can select the Brain 8. I'll browse and select the file. All of my brains are stored on my C drive in my My Brains folder. These are all the different brains that I've created in version 8, and I can click on any one of those and select Open. Sort of previews the content first, and then the next step is to create import once the conversion is already done. It's ready to import. And just take a quick note, I can create a new brain with that version 8 brain, or I can merge that into my bicycle recycle brain. So this is just a sample brain that I built anyhow. I don't mind if I merge in some unwanted content. I'll go ahead and import my ideas. So this was another brain from version 8 on brainstorming, and here it's been integrated now into with a whole article on Alex Osborne and different brainstorming methodologies, very closely related to project management. Brainstorming, it's one of the steps of project management, and since I like it so much, of course I have a brainstorming brain. But now I've merged all of that content directly here into my brain. And notice, I'll go over to my reports. Notice I quickly jumped from about 10 thoughts in this brain to 26. That's another sample brain. It imported very quickly into this brain as well. And Donna also asked, for script, can I use Pages documents? Any type of digital content. If you've got a file, .xyz, .abc, whatever the content is, you can drag and drop those into the brain. I'm Pages, but I don't use that application in Note or on my Mac. But if anything, you can also copy and paste that content into the note section of your brain. So if drag and drop isn't working for you, first off, send a note into support@thebrain.com. We'd be happy to hear from you and help you with that process. But also do know that any text-based content, you can copy that text and paste it right into the notes of your brain. And Gail asked the question, can you address how the timeline can be used? And Gail, I think I saw that question pop up just prior to when I actually opened up the timeline. So hopefully you caught that, all that timeline information. I did mention there's multiple ways to add content into your timeline. Let's say I have a meeting with Alex Osborne, author of Applied Imagination. I don't think that would happen, but just in case I did, I want to make a reminder in my brain that I've got my meeting next Wednesday with Alex. So I can click on the plus tab. And in this case, instead of adding a file or a document, I'm going to create an event. When you do it this way, it's automatically associated with the current active thought. So Alex Osborne, we have a meeting at lunch. And I can set the date here as well. So this is December the 5th. We're having this meeting from 2 to 1. 2 to 2:30. 2 to 1, that's not possible. So quick half-hour meeting, and I can just click away to save that event. And notice that my calendar down below scrolled to show me that that event is now appearing in my calendar. So there's some really, really great ways that you can navigate through the calendar as well. Notice I can click and drag up and down to scale the calendar, or click and drag left and right to navigate, and it'll actually slide, has a nice little slide feature. So just a fantastic way to keep track of all of your events and associate them with thoughts in the brain. And Stefan asked, how do I visualize priority? That's an excellent, excellent question. You saw earlier that I liked to create thought tags. And I use thought tags to visualize my priority levels as well, or thought types. Let's use thought types in this example. Excuse me. I'm going to jump over to, or I'll just jump back to my home thought really quickly. And I'm just going down to an area. Let's say I want to prioritize these different events. I'm going to create a priority level 1, priority level 2, priority level 3. Pretty easy to understand that. It's pretty clear. Level 1 is urgent. Level 3 is sort of back burner. So for track, I'm going to alt click on track. It's not the active thought. So I alt click to open up the properties for this thought. And I'll create now some new thought types. So under thought type, I've got a new thought type called, let's see, I'll call it, I think you did say priority. Yeah, priority 1. Priority level 1, urgent. Now, I also want to affect what a priority level thought, number 1 thought looks like. So I'm going to click on the pencil next to that. Oh, there's my reminder popping up. I'll dismiss this now. I just want to activate this thought type. I can also activate thought types by the drop-down list up above. So once again, I can apply a color. So my priority level 1, I'll leave it with a white background, but it shows up in dark red. And I'm going to select a stock icon. Let's go to shapes or symbols, I believe I have. Touch text editing. Objects, that's what I want. No, that's not what I want. Sorry. Here, arrows. Perfect. So priority level 1, big green arrow. This looks perfect. Priority level 1. So all of my priority level 1 items will have that appearance. When I mouse over, it's telling me it's priority level 1, and I can get there from every morning. I sit down, what are my priority 1 level items? Priority level 2 is getting things organized. So let's create a new thought type really quickly. And this is it's a new thought type. Clicking on the pencil to modify what it looks like. So I click, and not red. Now we're down into orange for priority level. And I'll select a stock icon, not a green arrow, but just a sort of blue sideways arrow. But you're starting to see my priority level 1, green arrow straight up, priority level 2, blue arrow to the side. I'm really quickly, I can't just leave it alone. I have to create a priority level 3. So you can see how quickly these can be created and then just applied to your brain as your brain continues to evolve. You never have to do the work again. Your priority levels are there. And for this, obviously, we'll have to go a little darker yellow there. And my stock icon will be just a very weak arrow down. So that's priority level 3. So under brainstorming, you can already see level 1, level 2, level 3. I could apply numbers there, priority level 1 with a graphic 1, 2, 3, a little ball of fire for my urgent items, whatever sort of help you visualize urgent items or level 1 items. And once again, I can simply click on the thought tag, and this will view all of my level 1 items down below. Or I can run a report and say, show me all my thoughts by thought type. What thought type am I looking for? Priority level 1. While I'm at it, just show me all of my priority level 1 and level 2 thought types. And there they are in a list. So I can click to go to those level 1 and level 2 thoughts. So not only different ways to visualize your priority levels, but different ways to access them as well. So I can really quickly, in a very large brain, find out all my priority level 2 thoughts. If I'm sitting in a meeting with my managers and I want to assign those, I can pull them up in a very large brain and then quickly link up each individual item to the person that's actually going to work on that project. And Donna mentioned easy peasy for getting to, I believe, the timeline. Thank you, Donna. And Stefan also asked, can I save as a local file to another file location? You certainly can. When you've got that file open in its native application, I believe here in my brain, let's see, show me all my thoughts with attachments. I don't have any thoughts with attachments yet, so I'll just click and add an attachment. If I open up this Word document on my Purchase a Barn, there's my Word document. I can say File, Save As. I do not need to save it in this location in the brain. I can save it on my desktop and say Save and Close. And so I did a Save As. I first created the document, then I saved as on the desktop. So here it is over on my other monitor. Just drag it over. There, it saved it onto my desktop from that document that I originally brought into the brain. I can also, I'll do a little Alt click. I saved it on my desktop, but I want my desktop link as well as my internal copy in the brain as well. Many different options for adding attachments and content into the brain. And then Tony asked the question, what is the best way to get templates in the Brain 9? So Tony, it's really just to simply add them in yourselves. If I have a list of different file types or templates, now there's different types of templates. I'm not sure if you're thinking about template brains or if you're thinking about template file types. So once again, with the file types, I can just click on templates and open this folder. And anything that I drag and drop, maybe I always want my Purchase a Barn document, whatever that is, to show up as a template. I can certainly do that. And when I click on the plus, now I've got Purchase a Barn document there in the templates list. So I can populate that list very, very quickly. Also, sometimes people create brain templates. I've got a new project with steps 1 through 27, and I import those or copy those into my master brain every time I have a new project. That can be done as well. So let's say we have, and this is a more advanced feature of the brain, but I definitely want to share this with you. I'm going to control click on step 5, 4, now a regular click to navigate, step 3, step 2, and there it is, step 1. I control clicked to get those thoughts, those selected thoughts that I like, into the selection box. If you're on a Mac, you would command click to build your selection box. There's a lot that can be done with the selection box. It's a more advanced feature of the application, but I can en masse change thought types. I can copy these thoughts, that's what I'm about to do, and paste them in another brain. Or I can unlink them from one area, like just control click on a large group, or even control click and drag to add or remove from the selection box. And then I can copy those or unlink them from where they are and link them into another area of the brain. In this scenario, let's say I build a separate brain with sort of my steps 1 through 27. I've got 1 through 5 here. I'll make number 1 the active thought. I right click and I copy those thoughts. Now I've got a project 2 brain that I'm creating. And there it is. So here's my project 2. I right click on the background and I paste those 5 thoughts. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Now, if in project 2, I hope I'm not going too quickly. Let's say there's a jump thought over to project 3. I don't want to rebuild all my steps 1 through 5 or 1 through 27 again. So I right click and I paste those 5 thoughts. Now the brain is getting really smart. It knows those thoughts are already in this brain because I've already copied and pasted them in. I don't want to replace those existing ones. I want to skip the links and I want to make copies of those thoughts. And I'll skip the link over to priority level 2 again. So I say okay, and I've got a separate grouping of those thoughts in my brain. I think I only copied the one thought there. So once again, very, very easy to create a template brain and save that separately. And you just copy that content and paste it into your master brain from time to time. And then Rico had the question, I think I've got time for, we're already 18 minutes over time here. So I'm just going to wrap it up with Rico and Mikhail's question. Rico asked, is sync with Google Calendar going to show only events specified to this brain rather than the whole diary? So sync with Google Calendar, if you sync to Google Calendar, everything in that Google Calendar that you specified will be synced into your brain. Everything in that brain will be synced into your Google Calendar. If you go to another brain, if you create multiple brains, you have to set up sync separately. I've got different brains syncing with different calendars. You can have every brain that you create sync with the same calendar if you'd like. Those choices are yours, but you have to set them up separately. Here in project 2, a brain I just created, I'm going to open up my calendar down below. Notice it's empty, there's nothing in it. And when I click to Google Calendar, same steps all over again. First, you have to sync the brain, then you have to select the calendar you want to sync with, and then sync again. So you'll need to set up, if you've got multiple brains, set up Google Calendar sync separately. And the choice is yours if you want them all to sync up to the same calendar or to different topic-specific calendars you may have created. And then, Mikhail, thank you. This will be the last question. Thank you, Stefan, for writing in and everyone for joining us. Mikhail has the question, what's your favorite way to capture ideas during while not at the office? The sync in my Android Brain app currently takes minutes. Thanks for the great webinar. So, Mikhail, thank you. And yes, you're absolutely right. I think you and I are both on track. So you're probably opening up your note for a thought in your mobile brain on your Android device. So obviously I've got my iPhone and I'll be sitting in a meeting or I'm just jotting down ideas and I can open my brain. There you can see my sync completed for this cycle recycle. So I'll actually open the brain and then on the thought, I'll go to the notes and I'll simply tap and start taking my notes. How I take notes on everything, even my shopping list, or my wife and I are going away for the weekend, sites we want to see. I keep track of it all in my brain, and I just sync when it's convenient. You may have noticed, sorry, I'll open it back up again. In the brain, let's say I type in a few notes there and I'm done. And it's hard to do sort of behind the screen. There, I'm back to the brain. So there is the sync button. So I can click on sync and start syncing that particular brain. The sync on the eye, I'll just leave it on here so you can see the sync goes pretty quickly. I had changes in the brain that needed to be synced into the iPhone because I made those changes here, and then changes on my iPhone that needed to be synced out to the cloud. I think it went pretty quickly. The Android, you specifically mentioned Android. The Android sync is still in development. So even to join the Android or to get version 9 syncing on your Android machine, you need to join the beta group and follow a few extra steps. Mikhail, I'm sure you are aware of. That is still in development. We're not out of beta on the Android version yet. We are on iPhone, but not on Android. So still in development. I'm going to make a note of that to test to see how quickly syncing is working. I'll test that on my Android device, which I have here. And definitely make a note of that because it's under active development. Now's the time for our engineers to review that. But also, I won't sync right away. If I'm at the airport, I'm not logged in, I'm not on Wi-Fi, I'm not going to press the sync button. I like to keep track of my minutes and my roaming and my charges, so I'll wait till I'm on some, at a coffee shop, some free Wi-Fi, log in, and then I'll sync my brain. So you don't always need to sync right away. I think that's a feature of the application, so the brain isn't using up all your minutes and auto syncing on you when you least expect it or don't want it to. So that's something that may alleviate the pain there a little bit. If it's taking a while, just wait till you have the time, you're on Wi-Fi, you can set the phone down and sync, and it'll sync in the background. I turned my phone off earlier, and it finished the sync of that of the bicycle brain that I just created. So you can just hit sync and move on to another app or set the phone down and let it do its thing. So thank you everyone for joining me today. I realize we covered a lot of ground. We did record today, so today's webinar will be available for you to watch and review later. And of course, if you do have a question in the future, please feel free to join us at, or call us or write to us, support@thebrain.com, or call our Brain headquarters in Los Angeles. We're happy to talk with you and even maybe set up a one-on-one meeting with you to review any additional questions that you may have. So once again, thanks everyone for joining me today. Enjoy the rest of your week, and most importantly, enjoy your brain. Thanks everyone. Bye.